So about a week ago, I created a video on how to install the SimpliSafe Doorbell Pro. If you want to see that video, you can click the link above to see that. But since then, I've changed my mind. So come along and let me tell you the reasons why. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk with Troy, where we talk about everything related to tech. So as you saw in the opener, and probably from the title of the video, a week ago, since making this video today, I decided to finally invest in a smart doorbell. And I went with the SimpliSafe Doorbell Pro because I already have service for SimpliSafe, and I've been impressed with their security system ever since I've had it. I've had it like 6 years now. And it's worked flawlessly, and I loved it. And I thought, well, you know, I see all the other ones out there on the market. SimpliSafe has theirs now, so let's see if I can just put that as an add-on to what I already have. So I was really excited. I made a video, which I told you could watch out there if you want to go see how to install that. It's still, I'll leave it out there. But as time went on, in a week's time, I really began to get very disappointed. I think I mentioned in the video that I already knew that when I got the doorbell, the firmware was 2.1.9.5, I believe. And so I had read on some of their forums that many people were having trouble because the firmware seemed to be stuck on that. It's supposed to automatically update the firmware, and for many people it was not doing that. And there was no way to force it down from the company. And they didn't have anything on their app that you could click on to say, you know, check for updates and have it updated that way. So, of course, as everybody else had tried, I called SimpliSafe and I said, hey, this is not updating to the latest firmware. And I should tell you another reason why that was important. Because the two-way audio on the doorbell was garbled. It was just not functioning at all. And so with that firmware update, those fixes were made, and without that it just wasn't working at all. And it wasn't just my doorbell. Like I said, there was a whole forum out there on the SimpliSafe website that had other people talking about the exact same problem and all the effort they went through to try to correct it. So I called SimpliSafe and they said, you know, oh, try this, try that, make sure that you have a port open on your router. You know, I think I called and talked to them like 5 times. And after we'd exhausted all the things they wanted me to try, they ended up sending me a replacement, which is this one. And because I purchased the original one at a big box store, I said to the guy on the phone, I said, when you send me a new one, could you please make sure that the firmware is updated to the latest one before you send it out? And he assured me, oh yes, we'll make sure that it's got the latest firmware. Well, it did not happen. The firmware was exactly the same as the one I had. And so I left it, I installed it, and I tried it just to see if there was some faulty thing in the original one that I had. But again, after 24 hours, it was not going to update, and the audio was still garbled. You could not hear from inside the home to out. You could hear everything fine coming from outside in, no problem, and the video was fine. Everything worked fine, except that audio going out to talk to the person at your door, and it just wasn't acceptable. So finally, I was so frustrated. I talked to the team again at SimpliSafe, and they really had no solution. They said they could send me out a doorbell again, but they couldn't promise to make sure that the firmware was the latest firmware before they send it out, because they said the people in the warehouse don't really have knowledge of which items supposedly have the latest update. I don't know that much about supply chain, if they could or couldn't. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I've spent too much time on this, too much effort, and I got so frustrated that I just took it back. So I still have the one that they sent me that I've got to send back tomorrow. But then I went right out, and as you could probably tell, I purchased the Nest Hello. And so this video, I want to go into the differences between SimpliSafe and the Nest Hello. And even though the Nest Hello is a little bit more expensive, I'm finding that the trade-off for what you get and the quality and the different specs that it has pays off in the end. And I also have invested in all the Google products as far as the Google Home Hub, and I've got a few minis in the house, so it makes sense to go ahead and use the Google Nest Home. So let's go into it. I'm going to compare the differences. I want to show you what I like about the Google Nest Hello doorbell. So first, let's take a look at what you get in the box for the Google Nest Hello. First, of course, you're going to get the Nest Hello doorbell. You're going to get a wall plate. Something that's different from the SimpliSafe doorbell is a chime connector that you have to install where your doorbell actually rings the bell. So we'll talk about that in a minute. You're going to get a couple screws. You're going to get a 15-degree angled wedge, which is actually pretty cool. The one that came with SimpliSafe was an up and down angled wedge. This is a side-to-side angled wedge, which actually works better in corners so that you can face it away from the corner that's not really needed to be in the scene. You're going to get a release tool to take it off if you need to after you've already snapped it in place. They're going to give you a couple extension wires, which is handy if your doorbell wires are too short. This is easy attach. You just push the wires in the little hole, and then it attaches very easily to the screws on the doorbell itself. They even give you a masonry drill bit if you have to drill into some brick, and some wall anchors. And of course, they recommend that you'll need a screwdriver and probably a drill. And if it's up too high, a ladder. So that is what comes in the box. So the installation itself is pretty basic. I did mention, however, in the box comes a chime connector, and that's different than what SimpliSafe gives you. It just attaches directly to the doorbell wires. For whatever reason, and I'm not an electrician, they give you this chime connector that you actually put inside your doorbell box in your house and attach the existing wires into the chime connector and then kind of tuck it all inside there. And if you don't have space, you could actually tuck it on the outside as well, or attach it. It's got a sticky backing, and you just stick it anywhere that you can to kind of get it out of the way. Mine fit nicely inside the box so you can't see it. But apparently this helps with monitoring the voltage and make sure that it gets to the doorbell properly. So once you have that in place, then it's just a matter of going out and attaching the wall plate to the side of the house. And then for this one, you actually don't attach the wires to the plate like you do with SimpliSafe, which I happen to like. You actually attach them directly to the back of the doorbell. So if you need to, you can use the wire extensions if your wires are too short, but mine were long enough, and you just attach those to the back of the doorbell and snap it on, and then turn the power back on, and it should function just fine. They do have a very nice instruction video out on YouTube, and I'll leave a link to that down below that you can watch. It gives you much more detail than I could ever do. It's a really good video. And also the app, the Nest app, actually guides you through each step. It's so nicely laid out. You can see diagrams of the wiring inside the doorbell box and exactly what to do. You can do it yourself. I didn't have any trouble whatsoever. Of course, I already had the space there for the doorbell since I already had my SimpliSafe one there before. So it was just a matter of switching it out. So the installation was super simple. So let's take a look at some of the Google Nest Hello doorbell specifications. First of all, it is 4.6 inches tall, 1.7 inches wide, and 1 inch deep. So it's pretty standard as far as putting it right next to your door as the other doorbells that you see on the market. It only weighs 4.28 ounces. It has to be attached to a 16 to 24 volt wired doorbell system. It has a 1/3 inch 3 megapixel 2K color sensor with 8 times digital zoom, 1600 by 1200, 30 frames per second with HDR video. You get a 160-degree field of view, which is very adequate for seeing who's at your door and what's going on motion-wise. It is IPX4 rated for weather resistance. and operates between 5 degrees and 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And you've got your 850 nm infrared LEDs for night vision, which actually is really good. It was much better than the SimpliSafe night vision by a long shot. It's almost like it's lit out even though it's very dark outside your home. So I was very impressed with the night vision. And of course your two-way audio. The SimpliSafe two-way audio, you actually had to hold the button down in the app to speak and then let go. So it's like a walkie-talkie more like system, which was not very user-friendly. And then this one, you just touch the button to turn on the two-way audio and you can just talk freely between the app and the person at the door. So it makes much more sense. So I'm not usually one to subscribe to some of these cloud-based services. That was one reason why I went with SimpliSafe originally, because I was already paying for my security system and this was just going to be included in that package as well. But now that I have the Google Doorbell, they do offer a cloud-based service, and for what you get with it, I think I'm going to actually consider subscribing to their service. So the two packages they offer, first it's called Nest Aware, and they just upgraded the packages and the pricing to include all of your devices in your home. I guess the first Nest Aware that they offered was per device. So this will include everything that you have that's Google Nest compatible. So the first Nest Aware plan is $6 a month, or you can pay $60 annually to get a little discount there. And you get 30 days of event video history. Then you could also go with the Nest Aware Plus, which is $12 a month or $120 annually. And you get 60 days of event video history and 10 days of 24/7 video history. That means it's always recording for at least 10 days in the cloud that you can go back and look at. So let's take a quick look at the Nest application in regards to the Google Nest Doorbell. Of course, the Nest app also controls other Nest devices as well, but we'll look at it just in regards to the doorbell. So when you first go into the application, you'll be met with the other devices that you have within your home. But let's go into my front door doorbell camera, where it's going to be showing you a live feed out in front of your house. And then down below, you're going to see your events that happen, your motion events. So as you can see, I've had a motion event, then there's a familiar face where it's going to notify me of that. And then here's where I ring the doorbell. Let me just click on that one. And it would have announced that Troy was at the door on all the speakers in the house. So, and then of course it would record the video of that. So you can see the timeline, you can change the view, and you can kind of actually scrub through it just by scrolling down, and it will encounter a event. It will then show you what that is, and you can just kind of scrub through them and see what caused the event to happen. Pretty cool. And then if you just want to go live, there's the button down at the bottom. You click, it'll take you back to your live view that's happening at the moment. Across the bottom, you've got 30 days where you can actually go back and look at the events that happened on a particular day. You've got your people. If it sees anybody new, it would show up here and then with a photo, and you can assign them a name or just delete them if they're just some random person coming to your door. You've got your talk button that you can use to talk to anyone standing outside at the doorbell. And then you can also share a clip by clicking on the next button, or save it to your phone or device. There's also a quiet time. If you have children that are napping, or even yourself want to take a nap, you can tell how long you want to mute your indoor chime or visitor announcements. So they've got presets here that you can choose. It's really cool. How nice to turn off your doorbell this way instead of having to somehow unplug it, right? Okay, so let's go into some of the other settings quickly. So this is the settings for the camera itself, the doorbell. You can turn your camera on and off, or the indoor chime. This is another way if you just want to do it manually. How cool is it to be able to just turn off your indoor chime just by clicking this particular button? Really nice. Home Away Assist. This to me wouldn't really be necessary for the doorbell, maybe some cameras inside your home. So I'm just going to leave this one off. But if you wanted it to, your camera to go on and off when you leave and come home, you could check that box. But I don't think that's appropriate for a doorbell. You can also schedule the camera to come on and off during different times of the day as well. Again, not necessary for a doorbell. Your notifications, you could get your push notifications or through email or both, and when to send, when no one's home or always. With your Nest Aware subscription, you can specify zones. So here is my first zone that I have, and then I created a second zone trying to get the street out of the picture. When cars drive by, I noticed it kept giving me a motion alert for cars. I haven't got that quite perfect yet, but it is better. You can also turn on where it will recognize packages or just any other motion. But if you do that, you're going to get birds and other things or bugs that fly by the camera that would set it off. There's also activity for sound. If your camera hears it says a loud noise, it will alert you. But I'm not interested in that, so I've left that feature off. And then it's got your familiar faces, where the people that you've already assigned that have come to your door already. So you can have that personal announcement of those individuals who've come to your door the next time they ring the doorbell. Visitor announcements. So if you have this on, if you have the Google speakers around your home, it will announce if somebody is just rung your doorbell. And if it knows them by name, it will say their name right there on your speaker. So really cool. Video recording is on, of course. When it gets a event, it will record it as a clip and save it to the cloud. Here's the Nest Aware information. It just kind of gives you a overview of your subscription and when it will end, and then the features that you see here that come with your Nest Aware account, which is event video history, familiar face detection, package detection. You can set up your activity zones, sound detection, and emergency calling. Okay, you've got your quality of your bandwidth. You can set depending on what you have. Your night vision, which does work really well in the dark, better than the SimpliSafe one that I was trying. The status light actually on the doorbell itself. The chime duration. If you have an electronic chime, you can actually adjust how long you want the doorbell to ring. But mine is not electronic, so I don't mess with that setting. Microphone. Of course, you'd want your microphone turned on so you can speak to the people outside at your door. But however, one thing that I will note that's a little frustrating, not with just me, but I've read online, is this audio recording. I had it on, which means that when there's an event that happens, it's going to not only record the video, but the audio as well. But the problem is, it also will cause an event for any sound that it hears. So when the birds are chirping outside, that's going to cause a sound event and record a video clip. You can imagine how many events that you would get during a day. It's too much. And so I stopped audio recording for that automatically, which is kind of a bummer because I really want to hear the sound when it captures an event. I just don't want it to capture an event based on sound. So I hope they fix that in the app to where you can actually choose what events you want to be recorded. But for right now, I've turned off the audio recording when it detects a motion event. But if you don't care about those audio events, of course you can turn that on. You can turn on a chime that plays when you talk and listen, and then your spoken language. You set that so when the app responds to the people at your door, what language do you want the doorbell to speak back to them? And then your Wi-Fi connection if you need to change what Wi-Fi it's on. Of course, where it's located, any technical information that you have for your doorbell can be found there as well. So really pretty simple, lots to control, I'm impressed with their app so far, and the video quality is nice. You can actually zoom in on the picture if you want to get a better view of something, and it really goes pretty wide all the way on my patio. So very pleased with the quality of the video. Show me the front door.
Okay, streaming front door.
So although I am very disappointed that I couldn't continue with the SimpliSafe doorbell, I am excited to go forward with the Google Nest Hello doorbell and see how it works. From what I've seen so far, it works really well, and especially when you add it to their subscription service, you're going to get a lot of cool features that some of the other competition cannot provide. I hope you got some information out of this video and it was helpful to you. Thank you to those of you who are already subscribed to my channel. But if you're new, please hit that subscribe button down below, as I'd love to have you as a subscriber as well. Hit that like button and the notification bell to get notified of any future videos that come out. So until next time, thanks for watching another episode of Tech Talk with Troy.